Welcome to the Black African Women Network. I'm Sonia Dubé, and this platform is a safe space for the modern millennial Black African woman to be seen, be heard, and be inspired. We're so excited to have Amanda and Rumbi of the It's Layered podcast with us for the Layered Expectations special. Over to you, ladies. Enjoy.
Hi guys, welcome to Layered Expectations, a special we're running for the BOR Black African Women Network. Today, we've got such a special episode for you, dating in your 30s. I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty excited for this. This episode is just going to go through dating, and we got 3 special guests, special to us, and I'm sure as you guys get to know them, they'll be special to you. First up is Paida, beautiful Paida. She's such a gentle soul, one of my oldest friends in Australia, and I'm really, really keen to get her amazing insight into dating. Hi, Paida.
Hi. And we've also got here with us Didi. She is a truly electric being. When you meet her, you feel her energy. Love her perspective on life, love her carefree nature, but also still caring, which is just beautiful to see. Didi, welcome. We're so happy to have you here.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
And the multi-hyphenate, should I say, DJ Kicks is in the building. You might have heard her lovely podcast that we're waiting for season 2. DJ Kicks, I'm watching you. Private Affairs. And she's here today, not in that space, but definitely welcoming her perspective on dating in your 30s.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here, ladies. And we're going to get right into it. The first question we have, and I'm going to direct this one to DJ Kicks. Could you give us a brief intro into your dating life from like high school into like now, this stage of your life into our 30s? What was that like?
Chile. I didn't know we were going all the way back to high school. High school, I would say that high school was pretty decent. Like I was out there. I'm not gonna lie, I was not like out there, but I had options. I was dating. I was, that was really like my first experience of like, just going out on dates and communicating with different dudes. And it was pretty decent for the most part. I had one serious boyfriend, I guess, in high school. And then I went to college. I went to university in the United States, and that was a huge culture shock. So now all of a sudden, I'm sure people are very familiar with Black Lives Matter and all that's going on there. But I quickly learned that being a Black woman in America almost immediately just like downgrades your stock as a romantic candidate. So dating for me in America was quite difficult, particularly in college, but also college was definitely a time when people were just like experimenting, testing their boundaries. So that was okay. I did end up having one serious relationship during college, which was, that was, I think that was probably one of the relationships that I grew the most. And I started to really understand what I wanted in a partner. Now, fast forward to my 30s. 30s for me has been more like not dating. And I think there are a couple of reasons for that. Number 1, geography, and number 2, standards. So I think geography, I live in Australia now. And Australia is not where it's at. For me personally, I find that because I didn't grow up here, I didn't go to school here, I find it quite difficult to connect with most Australians. It definitely has to be an expat or Australians who have lived abroad for a long time and have come back. So already my dating pool is very small. And then standards, when you overlay that with standards. So I think I have better standards now in my 30s. So in my 20s, I was quite superficial. I will admit to that. But in my 30s, I have more like character-driven standards like honesty, integrity, reliability, consistency, good communication, basic tenets of being a decent human being.
Exactly.
But you find that there's a maturity gap. I feel like as a woman who dates men, unfortunately, I find that there is like a a maturity gap with where women are typically compared to the men in my age group. So that's been in a nutshell. Mm-hmm.
That's so interesting. You dropped a lot there. Firstly, Andy, as a woman who dates men, unfortunately, that finished.
Yeah.
I was like, geez. But I can understand that being in a new space. You know, I also moved to a new country, so it's like when you don't have some sort of history, starting afresh can be quite a challenge. So thank you for sharing that, Kix, with us. Didi, what has your experience been from high school up till now? What would you say in your experience?
So for me, in high school, I didn't date much. I started seeing some guy, I won't mention any names. And we basically were together for most of, my high school life. Yes. Very immature sort of relationship, nothing much, cute.
As high school is supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
Not that deep.
He was a little older. I went to a girls' boarding school, so you can imagine what kind of relationship it was. So, and then I went on to varsity and I dated one guy the whole time. Yeah. I was with one person. During the years I should have really been getting down. I dated one person the whole time. He was a great person. So I think that counts. And then in my 20s, I dated, especially my late 20s. I just opened myself up to seeing more people. I started exploring different avenues to meet people. I started just being less introverted about dating, and it was great. My 30s, I date if I date. My 30s, I think I've had very meaningful relationships, but also I have the maturity to move on when something's not working. And I think that's what I really like about my 30s. I'm able to move on quicker from things, from relationships that are not quite at the standard that they should be, or that are not working out as they should. Yeah.
Kudos to that. So I'm seeing a correlation with Kix and Didi. It's like in your 30s, you start to awaken to the standards thing and kind
There's
of
an elevation.
There's an elevation. There's like, this is my boundary. I won't settle for. So kudos to that. And last but definitely not least, Patty, could you share a bit of your dating journey and how your experience has been?
Oh gosh. So I feel like in high school, I had the most fun dating. I dated a few really, really nice boys, because that's what they were then.
Yeah.
Some lovely individuals that I dated. And I feel like I had more of a dating life than I do now, honestly, because I had such great experience. It was fun. It was young love. And I experienced my first love then. I truly believe that that's what it was. And then I moved to Australia right after high school. I met someone and we dated for the majority of my 20s. So I did not live out the best time of my life. I was in a relationship. It was good for half of it. And then it just, did not end well. And and I had to take some time out after that to, heal and all of that, because it was 8 years of my life that I dedicated to that relationship. And now I'm in my 30s and I'm like, oh, Chile, dating is the ghetto. Because it's just, when you find that you've, lifted your standards, you've elevated your standards, it's a lot harder to find someone to match that, because we're not aligned the same way. I'm finding the men that I have chosen to talk to and date, we're just not aligned. We're like light years apart. And that's where we're at right now.
Okay. And that's something else that seems to be coming up. It's like the level of maturity when you're in your 30s, with men, and trying to find that alignment seems to be something that can be a bit difficult to come by. I think too, there's a lot of pressure on women always to just be mature, responsible, you know, and then you kind of wake up to being like, okay, I need to also have like some enjoyment. Can I have some enjoyment time, you know? And some of us were able to do it younger. I know for me, it happened at an older age for me. Like when I moved here, I then got a bit free. And I know Didi, we spoke about me getting into dating and like just do it. And I did have fun, and I allowed myself to have fun, because there's so much pressure on the responsibility aspect, I feel, for us. So thank you so much for sharing a bit about your dating journeys, ladies. That's very insightful. Thank you.
I definitely feel like all of you, though, admitted that in your 20s and now in your 30s, it's almost like there's been a shift, like in the dating game. Do you think that's also tied to like social media or the way we communicate as people? Like I remember when I was in my 20s, if you deleted a guy's number, that was that. You were like, see ya, peace. Like, I don't need to deal with you. I don't have to see you. But now it's like, oh my gosh, to remove them off all the social medias, all, you know, friends of friends. And do you think that's played a role in dating in your 30s? Like, Didi, what do you find with that?
It does play a role. So I don't know if it's just the type of guys that I've dated. Not big on social media. The type of guys that I've dated before are not huge social media people. So I can delete a number and it'll be okay. You know, I don't need to see them on Facebook or anything like that. I think I've kept my social media accounts very separate when I'm dating somebody. I think it's just, for me, you know, if you're going to put it on social media, then we must know where we're going. And I feel like I haven't had relationships that I'm like, okay, we're going to be engaged, so we're going to post each other and we're going to tag each other or whatever. I think especially in my late 20s, I went through a phase where I was dating somebody who I was just not sure about for a very long time in our relationship. So I just started not committing to, you know, going the extra mile and so forth. And I think when we start exploring those kind of issues that come up in relationships, we can talk about it. But, you know, the behaviors that you display when you're not feeling okay and you don't know how to communicate it. So yeah, for me, social media hasn't really been a big part of my dating life.
Yeah. And Patty, for you as well, you find that it hasn't really had an effect?
For me, it has. So I primarily use dating apps to meet men. And I found that when I've met someone and you go for a couple of dates and then it fizzles out, you just kind of go, oh, okay, that's all right. And, you know, I'll just tell him I'm not feeling the situation. But in the past year, I found if we've exchanged details or they'll know my name, next thing they're looking me up, I'm finding on Instagram, on Facebook, on Snapchat, they're adding me everywhere. And I'm just like, no. And the thing is, I clearly state that, okay, I'm not interested. It's just, we're not vibing. So let's move on. But yeah, the number of times I've had to delete people, block them, because I'm just like, no, let's not do this. It's actually shocking. But I haven't had a situation where maybe one or two guys that have added on social media, but more because we like to share memes and videos and have a laugh and stuff. But it's no one who would be like official. I think even saying that, like, Amanda, you would know like who I've talked to and stuff, but nothing's ever stuck. So yeah, there is a bit of that. But the biggest thing is dating apps. Dating apps are just, yeah, they just open up the world a bit too much if you put too much out there.
Yeah, I can imagine that, because it'd be really hard to then try to separate it, like your life and then your dating life. So, Kix, have you found the same?
Well, I'm not a big social media user, so I'm probably like, yeah, the person in that equation who's like not posting and, doing all of that kind of stuff. So for me, social media doesn't really factor into it, but I will agree with Paida about the perils of the dating apps, because it's wild out here. Like the characters you meet on those apps, it's everyone and anyone, you know what I mean? So you really, even if you like try to apply some level of like due diligence to the people you meet up with, they always like these sneaky people who show a particular side to them, and then you think, okay, yeah, maybe this is safe enough for me to give you my phone number. Then the next thing you know, it completely flips on you. So it's a tricky thing to navigate. Kudos to people who have found partners on dating apps, but for me, it just hasn't worked out at all. Yeah.
You've literally taken the words out of my mouth, because I was going to ask about like online dating, yay or nay, because, the world has changed. And I think our generation has seen that evolution, because we managed to exist online dating, internet. Like before it was a thing. So meeting in person was a thing, or being introduced was a thing, or waiting by the phone for the homie to call was a thing. And then now it's completely evolved to this. So we've seen that transition. And I'll be honest with me, initially I was like, I want to meet a person like in person, right? Like, do you get what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
organically.
And I really wanted that. And, I've tried, got off dating apps, tried again, you know what I mean? So for you, Patty, would you say dating, because you've alluded to using dating apps, is it a yay or nay for you? Like, do you think it has value in this day and age, or people should just stay away from it?
Honestly, with my experience, especially in this current panoramic that we're in, I would say it's a nay for me. I still am on it because in the industry I work in, it's very difficult for me. I work away a lot. It's hard for me to be out and about when the world is open, to actually get out and meet people. And I find people don't exactly approach me first unless they're really drunk or something like that, which I don't know what that says about me, but it's a nay right now. My experience overall has been just collecting pen pals. That's what it's been. And a lot of guys are not serious.
Okay.
A lot of people are just looking for a hookup, just like a one-time wham bam, thank you ma'am, and it's on to the next. And that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a life partner, a husband,
Yes.
and yeah, it's dating apps is not where it's at. I know a few people who've met partners, and that's amazing and it gives me hope, but in my experience,
that hope.
Hold on to hope, people. Hold on to hope.
I'm holding on tight.
No, but
can I just...
Yes, Kicks. Go ahead, please do.
Yeah, no, I was just going to add to that. Yeah, I think Paida adds a very good point there, that dating apps, I think it depends on what you want, because I think if you really just want to smash, it's great. Like it's like an Uber for smashing, you know what I mean? So like, I think it's purpose built for that. And if that's your jam, then it's great. And I think also if that's not what you're looking for, but if you have a lot of time and you're willing to meet a lot of people and talk to them, it's a numbers game. If you are committed to that, I think it can be for you. And if you approach it with very low expectations, I think it can work out for you. Yeah.
Okay. Numbers game. I will agree. It is a numbers game. It's like, you gotta do the work. Unfortunately. And Didi, have you had experience in online dating, and how do you feel about it?
I have, and it's a huge yay for me. It's a huge yay for me. And when I first started using some of the dating apps, I was a little skeptical. So you were at the same braai I was at, Rumbi.
Yes.
And one of our friends actually just downloaded an app for me and started swiping, and so I got on these apps, not really by choice. I've always been quite conservative. I've always wanted to meet people organically. And by the way, my partner now is not somebody I've met on a dating app, but I still endorse them completely. And what changed my mind about it was actually the most random person at work, this old lady I used to work with back in the day. We were just having a conversation at work about dating, etc. And I kind of said, a little embarrassed, I was like, well, my friends got me on this dating app and I don't know, I'm scared. And she said to me, there's always someone on the other end who's looking for something similar to you. Approach it with that sort of openness, that sort of vulnerability, that there's always somebody on the other end who's also thinking, this is the kind of person I would like, and you might just meet them. So once I opened myself up, I had a great time on the apps. I met some very nice people, and I met some very fraught people. So, I'm still friends with some people I met on the apps, and I've had to block some people I've met on the apps. But I'm very positive about it. Go ahead, go online and date.
And yes, Patty, please come through.
I was going to say, Didi, I'm happy that was your experience, but I do think from just a geographical standpoint for Christine and I, it's a bit different. For me, I'm in Perth, Australia, and I found that the guys something just doesn't click. I don't know if it's because I'm so, having dated like Zimbabwean men before, it's just different. How they approach dating is different. They're not aligned the same way. I find the guys in Australia, they're just not looking for the same thing. It's, I can't say I've met great guys. I've met some decent guys. And that's as good as it got. Yeah. I
have to agree. I think it's also geographical too, because I have some I was like, what is this? What kind of devil is playing on this playground? Depending on where you are. So Didi actually encouraged me to go online and with another friend and try dating again online. And I was like, fine, I'll give it a go, again. And now I am with someone who I met online, but I can totally attest to what Patty and Kix are saying, because it's a bit touch and go, and you just want to like throw your hands in the air and just be like, I don't care, So yeah, Amanda, come through.
I think what Patty is saying is so right, like geography, and DJ Kix touched on this as well, because for us in Australia, we're the minority. So it's like a fetish, right? Like, chocolate skin, Nubian princess. And guys, after a while, you're just like, I can't be told I have a nice body every single time. Like, it's just, it gets exhausting. So I think it's like, obviously, to give people context, there's 5 cities that we have here. So like, it's just all around the world, obviously, as Black African women, but we're not all living at home. So it's like, it makes it really tough. Yeah.
Or they just don't know. Like, I feel like in Australia, people are just kind of getting used to Black people. Do you know what I mean? So they don't really know how to interact with you or approach you. That's what I assume is happening, because it's a very strange space. It's a very strange experience. Even comparing it to dating in the US, which has all the racism that we know of, in the news and stuff. I still felt like my dating life in the States was better, just because Black people are more like, seen compared to here.
That makes sense. And I can relate to the fetish, I don't even know how to say that word, but people making it a fetish, like, chocolate girl. I also relate to Didi, the lady who told her there's someone on the other side. And I think I was fortunate that the partner I met was looking for that on the other side. And I know he too was giving up. You know what I mean? Also, so it goes both ways. It's not just girls, it's also on the guys' end. So there's also the beauty that comes into that. Didi, you wanted to say something?
So I live in South Africa. So my biggest advice in terms of when you go on the dating apps is safety first. There's a huge gender-based violence problem in our country. Make sure you know the places you're going, you're familiar with the places you're going. Just always vet the people and be safe. Take yourself there, take yourself home until you get to know a person a little better. But besides that, I still endorse the apps.
Patty comes
like safety first.
Safety first, yes. And let someone know where you are. Let someone know where you are.
And
share your location.
Yes, for sure. Patty, yes.
That's actually the point I was about to make, just to say, make sure you have someone, you always send them your details, your location. I have a friend who's like my go-to. She knows everyone I'm seeing. I'm like, here's a screenshot. This is what he looks like. This is where I'm meeting him, what time, and what time I expect to be home. So I always have someone who knows where I'm at. So I'm like, if I go missing, tell my parents, I love them. This is what happened. I'm sorry. Just because we don't have in that respect, oh no, I guess we do have it in Australia, but just not at that scale or that magnitude. But there have been instances where there was an article I was reading about how many women were just being in very unsafe situations and guys assaulting them and stuff like that, people they've met on dating apps. And the guy's just literally disappearing off the app. So I think another thing is actually making sure you know the person, get their first name, last name, try and verify who they are. I go on social media, I look for them. I will look up if I have their details. I'm like, okay, can I look up their personal details online? Can I Google them? Just because it's so scary out there. Like, I know people like, put yourself out there, get to know people. But as a woman, I'm always just thinking safety. That's the important thing for me.
100%.
And I think that's changed a lot. Like in our 20s, perhaps we're a bit more casual about it. And people were meeting more organically then. But now if it's all online, you have to be certain. Okay, so we just spoke about how we all, obviously African women, and we all know the cultural and societal expectations of being a woman in Africa, or, coming from the backgrounds we come from. In our 30s, our parents are all picturing that we should have 5 kids and be married and have a house and everything sorted. How do you guys manage that in your 30s, like all the cultural, societal expectations put on us? I will start with Kicks.
I definitely get that pressure. People try to impose that pressure on me, but I don't really respond to it. So especially with the whole like having babies thing, even without a partner, like I find that my mom is still like, just try. I'm like, just try what? It's okay. And I'm just like, no, it's actually not okay. So I'm not really affected by the pressure. And I think it's also because I don't live in Zimbabwe. I think it'll be a different situation if I was there and seeing all the aunties going to church and, all the church women being like, come Kwasha, what about our son-in-law? So I don't really feel it, but I do empathize with women who do get that pressure and really feel it, or women who maybe just want to have, kids, but they haven't found that person. And it's like the clock is ticking as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's sometimes it's like, just take care of your own life. Why are you looking at me? But you just have to put up. And when you're in Zim, especially, and I'm imagining South Africa would be the same. It's like everyone wants to comment, and you're like, guys, like, can I breathe? But then, it's really tough when you're back home. Paida, have you found the same?
I've been very fortunate. So when we moved to Australia as a family, like my parents were just like, you know what, focus on school and then the rest is on you. So they've pretty much left me alone for the most part. Occasionally, I do feel a bit of pressure because I have a younger sibling. My brother has 2 kids now, and they're looking at me like, have you considered, and when your parents start doing that conversation, like, there's this thing, IVF, like,
wow.
Are we there? Is that where we're at? But those are conversations that I had once in a while, but they just go, no pressure. I think for my parents, the most important thing is that I find a good person to be with, a life partner, someone who just meshes well with me and the things that I want in a partner. And also, hopefully, I do the same for them. But they've just gone, it's okay, take your time. You know, you don't want to rush it and be unhappy. We'd rather you achieve everything you want to achieve in life. And if a partner comes, they come. If not, there's IBF. So yeah, I've been very fortunate that my parents are just so chill. And even with like, because we have a Zim community in Perth. And even with that, when there's been someone who chimes in and they're like, oh, you know, she's done all this stuff in her life. Like she should, you know, look for a husband. Just, you know, pick someone. There's someone there. And you're like, just anyone? Just any old person? My parents have just been like, no, she's fine. She's doing what she needs to do in her life and the right person will come along. So it's nice when your parents have your back and shield you in that way as well. So yeah, I'm in a good,
that's
good
so
space.
good. It's good that they're supportive. Yeah,
That's
it's good that they're
awesome.
supportive and not putting extra pressure because you wouldn't be able to handle that. Didi, has this been the same for you?
So I think my family now knows that I don't care about their opinions. I really don't care, but there is so I come from a family that really worships marriage, that really believes that there is a hierarchy in the family, and married people deserve more dignity than others. Yeah, so for me, it's just been asserting myself. You know, my family will they'll pray and ask for me to be married in their prayers. And I'm like, guys, don't prioritize that for me. Can you prioritize other things? There are other things that I want, okay? But it's just me having to be assertive to say, guys, I live a very fulfilled life. I haven't been married before, so my life is okay as it is. I'm happy as I am. I always have to kind of push back, when those kind of conversations come up about marriage, about something missing from my life. I always have to explain that I literally have nothing missing. I am whole and happy. But besides that, I think if I cared a lot what they thought, I'd be a little sad, but I don't. As I say, my life feels full, feels great.
You know what? I can relate to you so well. Like having your family pray on your name, that is something that I'm like, yeah, no. And also this hierarchy thing, because I do have cousins who are married with kids younger than me. And I'm married now, but before I was married, it was like, if you're having a family meeting, they could speak and they could have their opinions. And I just was like, oh yeah, Amanda, yeah. Like, and it's like, but at the same time, it's kind of like a weird space because being home, like you're also financially supporting in some ways. Obviously, everyone knows how Zim is economically. So I'm like, okay, you want my money, but you don't want my opinion? Like, how does this work? Because it's not adding up. Like, so it's quite funny how our culture is so tied to marriage and respect and yeah, of course, you're a wife, but doesn't mean that people who are not wives don't think. So it's quite crazy.
Yeah, that's so crazy. Yes, Didi?
And I feel like there's just this there's this element of being treated like a child until you leave your father's house. And I'm 33. I know how to do my own laundry. If that's, if that's a standard of adulthood, I feel like, that being treated like a child until a man takes you under their wing is just really, it doesn't work for us and our generation.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of Black women have to fight their families about it. They have to raise their voices a little higher, and we end up looking a little aggressive. But you do have to fight for your place to just be treated like a dignified human being. And because you're not married, it doesn't mean that you can't make decisions for yourself You are your own family. You run your own life.
Snap
So
to
true.
that. You are your own family. I wanted to, talking about the pressure culturally and societally, what about the stigma, associated with being in your 30s and dating? And I think if we look at when you actually are engaging someone, a guy, a partner, or online dating or chatting to someone or getting to know someone, do you feel that there's a stigma attached when they know you're in your 30s? Is the respect the same? Do you feel like, you're supposed to settle for anyone who looks at you because now you're in your 30s? Like, do you get what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
certain
1000%.
yeah, Kicks, would you
We're all
like
nodding.
to kick off and let us know a little bit about your experience in that sphere?
It's almost like this assumption that you're now past your prime, and the question that I get on dates is, why are you still single? That still it kills me. And I'm like, why are you still single? Like, let's talk about that. But it's never really a question that the guys have to ask. It's always like, what's wrong with you that you're a woman and you're past your prime and you're still out here? So there definitely is a stigma, I think, particularly when you put in the baby's equation, because they're also doing their mental maths, like, okay, how many years does she have to actually pop out a baby? So yeah.
It's crazy. Wilde. Didi, we'll go to you. I saw your hand was raised.
But also being accused of being a difficult woman. That's why you're not single. I get that a lot. I get that a lot of, what do you do to these guys?
Yeah.
That
independent.
Exactly. Or lower your standards a bit. Those kind of conversations where it's kind of like everybody wants a solution for you. Everybody just feels like, no, we have to do something for you because you're in your 30s. Time is ticking. Nobody's gonna want you.
And I think for me, it's that problem solving. There's also the guys asking, but also the aunties. I've had lower your standards, go find someone Munwemo location, like someone from the high density area, like it's okay. And I just was confused. Like, I don't know, you know what I mean? They're like, your standards are too unique. And it's like, how do you even respond to that? And these are conversations aunts are having with your mother at weddings, and you're just like, I don't know what to say to this, right? Patty, please come through.
Oh, yes. I have heard that so much, especially since I've hit my 30s. It's like, okay, but please just, I've had aunties, like my mom's friends, sit me down and go, but just please explain why, is there something, maybe your standards are too high. Like, tell me. And I do have a list. I do have standards. I have things that, I have my list where I'm like, okay, I'll compromise on certain things I won't. And I'm like, if I compromise and just go, I'll take someone from the location, I'm going to be unhappy. And he's going to know that I'm unhappy. So that's not going to work out. And I would never want to bring children into that equation. Exactly. So it's like, you want me to settle just so you'll be happy. So you'll be satisfied to see me with someone, as long as I'm with someone, anyone, and have children. Are you going to help me with those children? Exactly. Are you going to contribute towards that? If I have problems in my marriage, are you going to be there for me? Are you going to support me? Or are you going to go, no, that's what marriages are like. Marriages, you work through it. No. Mm-mm.
For sure. Didi, and then we'll go to
but also coming from I think in my more recent dating experience, the men who approach me are kind of like, why are you unreasonable when I speak out about things that I don't like? It's kind of like, you're 33, you've got to take my behavior. You've got to take me as I am, really. It's you get it from all angles. The people you're trying to date, your family, your friends, everyone just kind of approaches you in a way that they basically gaslight you. They basically try and make you feel like you are crazy for knowing what you want.
Yes, 1000%. Kicks, please come through. I'm loving it.
Yeah, no, I was just going to add that with the aunties and, the mothers and stuff, I can sort of understand where they're coming from because they're from a different generation and their whole school of thought was, anything for the marriage, anything to save the household, So I can understand why, like, I don't feel any type of like resentment or contempt towards them when they try to give me this advice about lowering my standards. I think my mother actually said, has anyone ever told you they loved you? I was like, Sha, like it's not it's not that bad.
Yeah, no.
Your standards are too high. Yeah, no, but it's for me, it's really the guys that I have an issue with, who just think that, there must be something wrong with you. You're too independent.
Yes.
You don't want to bend easily. I can't mold you, which is
that mold. And you should be grateful.
And Didi said it.
Sorry, Amanda.
Exactly. You should be grateful. That's Didi mentioned it as well. Like, why should I be grateful that you're taking me on a date? Like, just because I'm in my 30s doesn't mean, like, there's always that tone. Like, you can put up with anything. You know how it is. And it's like, no, like, I shouldn't have to.
For sure. Yeah. It's wild. It's wild.
Any advice that you ladies would have about, like, dating when you were younger? Like, do you wish you knew then that you know now? Like, Patty, anything you can think, ooh, when I was younger, I wish I knew this, that I completely understand now, get now?
I would say to have fun, date different people in your 20s. Like, don't do what I did and go for the one person and be like, this is it, I'm done, I'm locked down for life. That is the biggest thing. Have fun, travel if you can, even if it's just local, get to know people, make friends, make mistakes, learn from those mistakes, and just grow. And then when the time is right, if you feel like it, then settle on that one person. But the biggest thing, my biggest regret is not dating more and just knowing myself more. I was like locked into a situation. That's the biggest thing for me. Date people. I'm not saying sleep with everybody, but definitely get to know it, because we know that's a thing, especially for women. It's like, no. A woman, you must be chaste, you must just keep yourself, and the man, the men can go around, they can do whatever they want to do. But I'm not for it. I'm like, live your best life. As long as you don't hurt anyone, then, you do you, boo.
Liberate yourself. Sorry.
Yeah. Kicks, do you agree?
Yeah, I think advice to my younger self, I think I would tell myself that sex can just be sex. It doesn't have to mean more than that. I think when I was younger, I attached too much meaning to sex. And I thought that just because a guy slept with me, it meant that he really liked me. That's not necessarily the truth. They might like your body, but it might not mean they like you for you. So I think I would have saved myself a lot of like heartbreak in my 20s had I understood that.
It's not really an open conversation, sex, I think. I feel like we also enter it unarmed. Like, we're just like, sex. Yeah. And then, like, you find out all these things with no one to leave. If those aunties were talking about marriage, led us a bit, better with sex, and we were honest. Because that's the thing, I feel like, well, especially in the Zimbabwean backdrop, we're not honest with how much sex we have or all those things. So when the time comes, we're so unprepared, and then we tie all these emotions to it. As you said, sometimes it's not warranted. Didi, have you found this to be the same, or do you have any advice for your younger self?
I think advice for my younger self, move on, you'll be okay. I spent so much time sad about breakups, sad about relationships. Move on, you'll be fine. There is someone out there who understands your vibe, who you can actually vibe with. And also, I think self-awareness, try and understand yourself more than anyone, and that's how you'll understand when you meet other people, how they are in relation to your life, because you understand yourself more. I think in my 20s, I spent too much time getting gaslit by men. Getting gaslit by society telling me that time was almost up. Men also acting that way. We must also remember as Black women that there's just that specific, I don't know how to describe it. Black women are expected to endure way more than anybody else in the world. Men who date Black women go into relationships with that idea that you should be able to endure a lot of things, relationship up and downs. You don't have to endure that. You're also a human being who deserves to be treated with dignity. Move on to somebody who's going to treat you right.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, so eloquent, so true. Paddy, do you agree?
Yes, I do. And it's something that I was reading about. It's we're expected, Black women, to go through, it's called the struggle love. As in, we're supposed to be okay with that. Love is, meant to be like that. You'll struggle. He'll cheat. He'll go and have children. He'll do this. It's fine. You work it out. You need to hold it together for you and for him. And if you have kids, for the family. And I'm not with that. We deserve just unconditional love, uncomplicated love. And that's how it should be. But yeah, you're right about that. As Black women, we're expected to be the strong ones, the ones to carry everyone, take care of everyone, pour everything we have into every situation, every facet of our lives, but no one pours into us.
Yeah, so true. And put yourself last, it's like sacrificial, everything, sacrifice.
Yes.
No, I want to live.
I don't know if anyone watched Too Hot to Handle, season 1 and 2. Spoiler alert here. I had a problem with both Black women in both seasons being interested in the Black men, and the Black men, they always had to endure the Black men's problem. Like they had to fight for these Black men. And spoiler alert, none of them are still with these Black men. So I was just like, why is it always a struggle instead of just like the ease of being loved or being adored or being, type of thing. That's when we see flame.
Yes. Let's talk about that, because to be honest, I feel like Black men and Black women, we are missing each other somehow, some way. Like the levels of disrespect that I see Black men, not all Black men, but a very big proportion of Black men out
there. We're nodding our heads. Yeah. We're
dishing out disrespect or having unrealistic expectations. And then the moment they date someone who is not Black, they're now they're chipping in with household chores. Now they're like the complete opposite. And you're like, but why? And I have asked Black men specifically about this phenomena. And they say, well, because we saw our mothers do it. So that's what we expect. And it's like, that's rude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Rude. 1,000%.
Yeah. Being a ride or die. You don't have to be a ride or die. You will die if you're going to ride like that. Don't do it.
Don't do it. Yeah. Patty?
We're not riding anywhere. No, we're not riding. I'm not on it. I'm not getting in the car. I'm staying right where I am. And it's sad when you hear that. And it's a constant thing that I keep seeing and experiencing, where Black women were at the bottom of the totem pole. Other races are, they're at the top, or in the middle, but we're always put at the bottom. So even with how men approach us and talk to us and the expectations, it's like, I want you to be this, be put together. I want you, even in terms of just how you present yourself, you need to be quieter. You need to be, more fitting of the Western standards of beauty, but also keep your Africanness. Have the big boobs, the big bum, tiny waist, but also dress a certain way, behave a certain way. And it's like, okay, what are you doing? What are you doing with yourself? What are you bringing to the plate? Because I feel like I'm doing so much, and you're not giving me that. And I feel like we're just expected to just roll with it, be okay with it. And it's like, and the moment that we step out and date outside of our race because we've gone, you know what, you're not loving us the way we need to be loved, it's a problem. It's a problem. And I'm sure you have experienced it, you've seen it, you've heard those conversations as well.
Didi?
Do you guys also find that, especially when dating Black men, they always have this marriage story dangling as a prize around you?
1000%.
They always have marriage dangling there to, if there's a boundary they don't know how to express that you've crossed, it's kind of like for them the first thing is, I don't know if I don't want to marry a person like this, or am I going to introduce my family to a wife who does this?
Mm-hmm. It's because they know how important it is in our culture, so they're using it against us because they're like, oh, okay, well, we know. Whereas if you say that to, like, for example, a white chick, she might be like, I don't care, we can be partners, we don't have to be married to you.
Yeah.
But they know it's like manipulation. They know this is going to matter to you.
So true.
Yeah.
And I think, speaking of this, you identifying this, I think as we grow older, we become more aware of these things and don't tolerate it as much. I've been there, tolerated a lot of BS, dangles and all that. What do you now expect from a partner that you didn't think of when you were in your 20s? I think in the beginning, we talked a lot about sort of standards and how you kind of become more aware. Didi, could you share like what is something that now you're like, I need this. I'm not going to tolerate this, or I need this from a partner that maybe when you were younger, you're like, yeah, it's whatever, in your 20s or whatever.
Consistency. I want a person to be consistent. And I don't want to hear it. If you're not consistent, then we're not going far. I'm a consistent person. I expect you to behave in a consistent way. That's it. And in my 20s, I went through some of the most inconsistent relationships with people who would give you silent treatment. That's just so abusive. You don't keep quiet for a week or two and expect everything to be okay. So consistency, that's it. From speaking to me, texting me, be consistent, from just having that integrity, saying you're going to do something and actually doing it.
Yeah, for sure. Kix, I see you nodding and agreeing. What are some of the things that you've kind of taken as important now compared to when you were in your 20s or younger?
Yeah. In addition to consistency and integrity, I would say reliability. So in my 20s, I had this thing where I attracted a lot of like beta males, for lack of a better term. And, I'm a strong woman, yes, but I don't want to have to be that all the time. I want to be able to rely on someone to take some of the responsibilities, to come up with ideas for our relationship, to move it forward, to even plan a trip, something simple, you know what I mean? So that it's not all on me, because I'm tired too. So yeah, for me, reliability is something that is super key now.
I love that. Patty, for you, what has come through for you over the years as important?
There's so many, but I think the biggest thing for me is to be equally yoked.
Ooh, tell us more.
Not to wait for marriage for that, but in the relationship, because just having gone through things by myself, even whilst in a relationship, it's hard. When you have your person, they're right there and you think they're your person, but they're not shouldering that burden for you. Even if it's something as simple as just listen to me. I'm going through something. I need you to just hear me out. You don't have to help me in any way, but just be there and understand and just go, okay, I'm with you. We're going to work through this, whatever it is. And I guess it ties in with what Didi and Christine have said as well, which is just working together, just even just things like holidays. Like I did a lot of like, oh, previous partner just going, well, let's do holidays, let's do this. And no, it was just like, this is on you. And even making moves in life, I have my own home, not to toot my own horn, but that was
Toot it,
that was
girl.
a big thing.
Toot it.
Please.
But like toot.
That was a big thing. I was like, it took a lot of sacrifice to go, I'm not going to go out every weekend because I need to put money aside. I can't do this. And, putting a lot of things on hold and have someone just look at you and go, not my problem. That was really hard for me. So it's like, there's so much you can do in life with a partner, and it shouldn't start at marriage. I think and believe it should start whilst you're in a relationship, start building on that foundation to begin with. And friendship. Friendship is another thing as well. It's like when the lust is gone, when I don't get butterflies every time I see you, I still want to have that, like, to be like, yo, this is my road dog, like that's my person. When I get home at the end of the day and I want to spill tea, he's there like, let me just grab my beer and then you can tell me what to do. And yeah, that's where I'm at. Yeah.
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 I think
friendship is such a big one.
Yeah. And I think overarching is partnership, right? Like that's what happens in partnership. It's like consistency, reliability, like we're on the same wavelength and we support each other. Love that. It's beautiful.
But you know what the funny thing is? Because I was actually telling a dude this very thing. He's like, oh, why are you still single? And I told him what I was looking for, the very things that we just discussed. And he's like, oh, that's really basic. I'm like, yes. It is. And
it's funny that
it's shocking that you cannot find the very basic things in a single person. You can find the elements in different people, but that's the struggle for me.
Yeah.
Sure. And you were saying it even so well before, Kix, when you said sometimes you just want someone to do the chores with, or like to just do the things. And in a friendship, you would do that. If any of you, I was living with you and you were tired and I'd be like, no, let me do it. Or let's partner up. It'd be so normal. So it's like, why can't guys sometimes just treat you as they would treat a friend? It's almost like when you have that wife title or the girlfriend title, you just get treated so differently, and usually it's not well. And it's like, why not? You're meant to actually love me and take care of me and do this life thing with me, not make it worse.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's quite tough.
Yeah. For sure. With some guys, it felt like I had a child to take care of.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? It was like that extent. Yeah. Like when you have to remind someone to brush their teeth. Like,
I dated someone who didn't know how to make their own bed. I was disgusted.
But can we blame the mothers though? Because
1000%. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So ladies, if you do decide to have kids and you have boys, we know how to come correct, because some of these boys get coddled. Like they literally leave the same way we were talking about how we can't leave our father's houses and go to our husbands. It's the same way some boys do leave from one mother to a girlfriend. Like it's just, they don't see it as, some boys don't even know how to boil an egg. And you're like, how have you been surviving? Like it's shameful.
Yeah, it's shameful. Shameful is the word.
Do you guys have a list? Show of hands, who has a list? If so, you do? You have one? No? Okay. So I was just going to ask, for those who do have a list, what if he doesn't match it? And if you can tell us a few things on your list. I'm sure it's similar to what we talked about already, but anything else that's like a deal breaker for you, Patty?
I have a list. Yes, I will admit I do. And I've been told a few times by friends and acquaintances that I might need to, be a bit more realistic with my list. But it's just things that I think, and I've split it, because I've gone, okay, these are my must-haves. And then there are things that I'm like, oh yeah, they're good to have. So, and things that I will compromise on. So things like, I want someone who's career driven, or if they're not career driven, if they're in whatever space they're in, they just want to strive and do better in life. And, earn good money as well would be nice. We're not putting a number on it, but, I don't want to be struggling, okay? I don't want to struggle, because I work hard and I want someone who can match that. So for me, it's more, I've looked at myself and gone, okay, what can someone add to this so we can be, a power couple, and I do have a few deal breakers, and I hate to say this, but children. That's a deal breaker for me currently.
Okay.
It could change. Someone could be super special and have a child, but it's something that having seen people in those situations and having actually dealt with guys with children, it was not a great situation where they're having to balance between spending time with their child and spending time with you. And I would just feel weird if a guy was to go, oh no, I'm going to prioritize spending time with you over my child, because that child needs their father. And especially when coming from a broken home. And I've seen that with children coming from broken homes, dating men who have come from broken homes, it's not great. They're just not whole human beings. So that's a big one for me. I'm just like, stepmom life isn't for me. I can't. I can't. But it gets harder because we're in our 30s, right? And with each year, I'm meeting more and more men who have children. And some men will hide it in their profiles on dating apps. They'll just, pretend like they don't. But, I put on my FBI hat and I am on the socials looking, and I have found out people with whole children, some with partners that they have lied about.
Yeah.
So I do have an extensive list. I wish I had it right on me. I could actually read a few things off of it. But there are some things, important things, like someone who's good looking, appealing to me, because that looks so important.
We need some
but also having
attraction
a
there.
good heart. Yeah, having a good heart. Someone who's, I would say, I would prefer a Christian, but spiritual is all right as well. Or if they're atheist, if someone, they can respect that I do, practice my religion, that I am Christian, I do attend church. If they could respect that, then that's fine. I could rattle off a few more things, but I feel like I take up too much time.
It's like an overrunning list.
It's a long list. It's a long list, ladies.
Yeah, after listening to Paddy, I'm just like, yeesh, maybe I should add some things to my list. Because it's looking a bit short here. My list are basically the standards that I talked about that are very about, the character of the person. So I think maybe I didn't mention like good communicator. That's a big thing for me, as well as empathetic. And then I'm thinking someone who is able to take care of themselves, like financially. They don't have to be a baller. It's okay, because I'm going to be like on my own level. So it's okay. It's just, he can take care of like the phone bill or whatever. It's fine. Because I'm just going to be up there. So that doesn't really matter to me that much. Just someone who's able to take care of themselves. And children, Paddy mentioned children. That is, for me, that is also a deal breaker, unfortunately. And also someone who wants children is also an iffy thing for me, because I don't have a desire to have children. So that is another thing that makes dating in my 30s hard, because I find a lot of guys want to have kids, and I'm just like, I don't know if I can do that for you. So
yeah.
Can we swap your hand up?
Yeah, can we swap cities, Kiki? Because I feel like I find guys who don't want to have children, and I'm there like, no, like on the apps, like literally, I'm looking at guys. They'll, like my profile, and then I look and they're like, no kids, don't want kids, and I'm like, no, sir, I want 3. So we're not, we're not even on the same page. Like, I mean, God,
come to
God
Melbourne,
willing, but. Yeah, I'm considering it, girl. I'm considering it. For me, I want children, and I guess it's been a 50-50 where I've matched with some guys who, don't want children, but I know at the end of the day, you can't convince someone to have children if they've decided that that's not what I want in life.
Yeah.
And I'd never want to be in a situation where I'm hoping that they'll change. It's just one of those things. If that's a deal breaker, it's a deal breaker. I don't think people bend on things like that. So I've had that experience, and I've just gone, nope, I'm not going to waste time doing that. So I'm all for, having a man who wants to have children with me.
Yeah, okay. Didi, did you forego a list, or did you just think not necessary?
I don't have a list. I don't have a list, and it's because I want to open myself up to meeting different kinds of people. But I am big on values. If we don't share the same core values, then we definitely can't go forward. I've dated people with children. It's always complicated when you don't have children yourself. But I'm not. It's not a deal breaker for me when people do have children. It's not a deal breaker if you're divorced or whatever. That's not a deal breaker for me. So my list is non-existent. I'm quite fluid about it all. I'm not very specific.
I think the thing, I know. It's like what I love about Black African women as well is that we're so nuanced. And I think for a long time, the narrative was we're strong Black women, and that was just like it. But now, actually, as we start to delve deeper, we start to realize that we all live our lives very differently. And the same way white women or Hispanic women or whatever can be all different. We are just the same. So lists or no lists, whatever works for you. So you guys brought up money, a little bit of money talk was happening there. Is that a deal breaker for you if the guy makes way less? Maybe way more is fine, but way less than you?
This is so tricky.
How much is way less? I suppose that's what I'd want to try to understand, because if you're able to meet your basic needs of food and shelter and a little money for savings and stuff, that's fine for me. I just need someone who's able to do that for themselves.
But you spoke about travel. So let's just say he can do his food, his obviously basic necessities, and have a little bit of savings. But perhaps if you're invited to a trip, like a few years ago, we used to always go on yearly trips. If he says to you, Kicks, you can go, I can't. And then you're like, oh, I'll fund it. Or would you be okay to fund it? Or like for the extra stuff, I suppose, how would you feel?
I think it would depend on what level I'm at. If I'm envisioning my future self and just the amount of success I will have, I will not have any problems funding a fun trip. Like, I can be Oprah, he can be Stedman. It's cool. I don't have any issues with that. Right now, I suppose it would depend on how much the trip is, because I do think that there is, I do have a little resentment for, traveling alone as a single person, because I'm like, damn, if I had a partner, this hotel room would be like half the price. You know what I mean? So there are things like that I'm like, if I had someone who could, help with that, that would be awesome. That double income life would be ideal, but I don't think it's super necessary for me.
Didi, for you?
I think for me, so I grew up in a dual income household. I believe in dual income households in general. I'm not picky about finances. So I've dated people who are quite wealthy, and I've dated people who are just okay. And I don't think my lifestyle has ever changed either way. So it really doesn't matter to me how much you make. But in order to run a household, there has to be some level of transparency about finances. You've got to understand also what the next person's financial habits look like, because now you're thinking about someone you want to raise a family with. You've got to understand what their finances look like. You've got to understand how they spend money, what makes them spend money, how they use their money, how much black tax they have in their lives. Those tiny habits, you've got to really discuss that openly, and then decide if that's going to work for you. If somebody is under the burden of a lot of black tax and you want to live in a beautiful 3-4 bedroom home, you might not get that opportunity in that household because this person is running a whole different household. So those are conversations you must actually have quite earlier on about finances, about where you're going, what do you want, what kind of schools you want your children to go to, little things like that.
Yeah, no, I agree, because black tax in a 3-4 bedroom house, they might just move in. And
Exactly.
they might just come and be like, my sister's coming to live here, or my brother. And that's a form of black tax too, getting family to move in. So it's a decent.
You must discuss those things. If you're dating someone who comes from a family of 10 and you only have one sibling, you must understand that those dynamics are different and have open conversations about it. And if it's not going to work for you to have their siblings around all the time, you're free to move on if that's something they value a lot. So it's conversations that you just, with finances, just be open about it. It's tough because I think people don't like to talk about finances. They don't like to talk about financial expectations, especially as Black women. We're accused of being gold diggers whenever we bring up finances and wanting our lives to be comfortable. And we usually accused of gold digging by people who have no gold to dig for in the first place. So it's very important to actually be clear, to say, look, this is how my finances look. This is the life I want to live, and discuss it with your partner. Be open.
Sheesh. Bars were dropped there, just bars. Paida, how do you feel about money?
I feel like, and for me, it's speaking from past experiences. So, people, I don't want people to come for me and say, oh, you just want someone who's a big baller. No, but it was just when dealing with men and their egos and the fragility of those egos, when you're a woman who's doing well in life, and I'm not saying I'm a big baller, but, I want to do more in my life and make more money, and be comfortable. Because for me, it stems from growing up and my parents wanting more and them moving, leaving Zimbabwe, leaving all of our family behind to come to Australia to establish this life, to put me through school, me and my brother, and all the sacrifices they've made. It's like, no, I need to do more. And I want to create generational wealth. And I want someone who is there with me going, yes, okay, we can do this. And I've found that when you're talking to someone or dating someone who's earning less, there's a lot less that you're able to do. Even talking about finances, it's not a comfortable thing, because then they're going, oh, so you can do that? You can just go on holidays once a year? Wow, you really do that? You go with a group of friends like, we've done in the past. And it's like, they're mind blown by it. Wow, why would you do that? And it's just, that's where that being aligned with someone is like, where I'm like, they don't have to make the same amount of money, but I wouldn't date someone who's earning half of what I am, because then it just wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. If we're going to talk about, building a life together, purchasing properties, where our children are going to go to school, what kind of schools, between public and private, those are like significant costs you're looking at. So for me, no, we can earn a little bit less, but again, there's so many opportunities to make money. So with things like cryptocurrency, having your own business, being an entrepreneur, being a creative, there's so much more that people can do. So I don't think I could just be okay with someone going, this is where I'm at and I want to be with you, but understand that I'm only going to make so much money and I'm not trying to do more. I wouldn't be able to do that.
Even if they met everything else on your list, you would walk away.
Come through, Kicks, with the questions.
That is
It's tough.
that's a hard one, but again, it depends on how much less. If they're earning half, then it's a struggle, because I've seen people in our community, Zim women propping up their entire family with their partners not holding up their end. And you know how it is. It's like, oh, still respect me as the man. I still should make all these financial decisions. But it's like, if I'm the one earning so much money, we should be deciding on what happens as a couple, as husband and wife, not the man leading the way, but not holding up his end. So I would struggle with that part. That's, yeah.
I think it comes to what you said. It depends on the ego and how fragile
The drive as well.
And the because if someone has a big ego and wants to feel like the man, they earn significantly less and then expect to be like calling all the shots, and you sit down. It makes it complicated. But if they meet all your ideals and they don't have this, I'm the man, I'm going to make all,
Yeah,
But even if
It's a
they
tough
make
question.
Yeah.
It is, but we can work on it, because I mean, we're anywhere in the world, you can make more money. You can, you don't have to just be like, oh, this is where I'm at and that's it. You can still do more. So it's okay. We can work on that one.
Okay.
I can, as long as that man is willing to say, okay, babe, I don't earn that much, but I'm willing to work my way up towards that, then okay, yeah, we can do that. But
so you have to see the potential. You're saying you have to see that he's gonna get himself out of his current situation. That's pretty much.
And it has to be a strong potential.
I don't date for potential. Like I've made that mistake before. So I like to purchase as seen on screen. Do you know what I mean? Like what you see is what you get. Because you can sell yourself dreams. Thinking someone is going to eventually get to whatever level that you want them to be.
That brings me to the next question as we kind of get ready to wrap this up. Because Kix just said, I've made that mistake before, dating for potential. Any dating regrets that you have had in your past experience? Let's take a walk down memory lane. Kix, I'll let you kick off because you got me stimulated on that.
Regrets. Just not listening to my intuition. I think, and entering into relationships before I was ready to. So I think especially in my 20s, I went through a depressive episode in my sophomore year, my second year of college. And there was a guy who was interested in me, and because he was giving me that attention, and he was a lovely guy, to be honest. But I still feel like we probably should have never dated. Although I did learn a lot from that relationship. That was like the most significant relationship in my college years, but it happened because I was in such a bad place of, self-esteem and just dealing with the culture shock of being in America. So I think entering into relationships when you are strong and not because you need validation from someone else is something that I would say is a major key. And just listening to your intuition. I've dated people just because I was like, oh, okay, let's see where this goes. But deep down inside, I knew that it was not going to work out for me. So it was,
Trust your instinct.
Trust your instincts. I don't like to say it was a waste of time because I think everything that happens for a reason and you learn from it. So I wouldn't say it's a regret. It's just a learning.
Yeah, for sure. Patty, for you, any regrets? Any in your experience?
There are so many regrets. And like with DJ Kicks, it comes back to not listening to my intuition. So just putting myself in situations where you're dating someone and you just giving someone too much time and too much leeway to do wrong towards you. That's been the biggest thing. And just allowing too much time wasting. There was a lot of that in recent years where like even with, and a lot of it I've realized in the past year and a bit has been a lot of just letting people have their way, you know, drag you along, use you as a pen pal, or, you know, just someone to help, you know, pass time, because we're all stuck. We're all in lockdown and we have nothing to do, but not, yeah, just people not looking to have a relationship, just looking for you know, this is something to pass my time. So yeah, that's been a big regret in recent years, where I've just been like, no, I want someone who wants to talk to me, is keen to get to know me,
Yes.
and not just this is for now because I'm in the house. Yeah, that's, yeah.
There's no time for time wasters. That's also I wasted a lot of time, too much. Didi, and for you, any regrets that you had?
You know, yeah, also not trusting my instinct is something that I definitely regret. But also forgiving people too many times, giving people chances over and over when I could just move on. I think that puts you in a place where you are vulnerable to the abuse that person is dishing out to you. And I think this one is quite a big thing because I'm quite an empathetic person. And, you know, being like a therapist to these guys, don't do it. They must do their own work. They must go to therapy if they need to go to therapy. You do your own work. You are not there to solve their problems.
Yeah.
And Black women really like to bounce into this problem-solving role when it comes to relationships. You're not in a relationship alone. Those problems are not your own. You are sharing the load with a partner. Why are you the one who always has to listen, who always has to adjust, who always has to find solutions to move forward in a relationship? So don't fall into that trap of being the overly empathetic Black woman who ends up just being a therapist for that person.
To get better and move on to somebody else. Sorry.
Yeah, definitely,
Yes,
definitely.
right? After they've done the work with you,
Yes.
Jackie.
Yeah, because they always believe they can do better.
Oh gosh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies.
It's almost like if you've played that therapist role, then you can't move forward because then they're like, oh, you fixed me. And then they go, okay, but I can't actually be with you because you know all of that. Then they kind of like have to move on. It's almost serendipity. They just have to go because it's like, yeah, you've seen all their layers to another level.
But
yeah. And I think a lot of us carry that burden without having the same energy from the other person. When you have problems, when you have situations that are bringing you down, they're not your go-to. They're not that reliable shoulder to cry on. So I think I regret doing that a lot in my relationships in my 20s, in my early 20s.
Yeah, we do give a lot for less, for much less.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, guys, before we go down a rabbit hole of, dating in your 30s, there's some beautiful aspects of being single because sometimes relationships can also cause their own stresses. What would you say for each of you when you are single or have been single has been one of the best aspects of that? Patty?
Oh, gosh. I think getting to know myself outside of a relationship, that's been the biggest thing. Because I was in a relationship for the majority of my 20s. I grew with that person and I didn't know myself until I got out of it. So I have had so much time to reflect, to rebuild, to strengthen myself and prepare myself for the next person and hopefully my future husband, and to just be a whole person. That's been something that I just look at myself now and I'm like, wow, I'm in such a good space. I'm in a great headspace. I feel confident. I feel happy. I feel complete. I don't feel like there's something missing. It's more like I want to have someone by my side to do all the stuff with, live and do life with, but I'm in a really good space and I've had that time to just work on myself. So I have been, on this journey of singleness, and having that time to really work on myself and know who I am has been amazing. And yeah, that's the biggest thing that I've really had to take away from this journey.
I'm like cheesing. You're like,
beautiful.
And for you, Kicks?
Yeah, I definitely echo everything that Patty was saying. I know we've talked a lot about the troubles, the challenges of dating, but honestly, like being single is so lit if you take advantage of it. So for me, it's autonomy, ability. Like I'm contemplating, oh, maybe I want to move to Botswana. Maybe I want to spend a month in Ghana. Maybe like you can just decide to do that without even consulting anyone. So that is huge for me. And time to be productive. For me, I'm kicking goals. I'm building my own business, and I don't think that I would be able to do that as efficiently with a partner, because you have to apportion your time. Like I pretty much work 7 days a week, you know what I mean? And even maintaining my friendships is quite difficult. So that is also another aspect that makes dating hard for me, because the value proposition of being with someone has to outweigh the value I get from being single.
I like that. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. And you, Didi?
So I'm one of those people who enjoy being single a lot, as much as I'm in a relationship now, but I'm one of those people who just enjoy the single life. I enjoy the autonomy. I enjoy just living my life. I enjoy meeting new people and having an open mind, when you're meeting new people. So for me, being single is such a good time to self-reflect. It's a good time to test yourself against the world, against what's out there. I love it when I'm single as much as I like being in a loving, healthy relationship. For me, being single it's always something I can easily go back to. I don't ever feel sad when I break up with somebody that I'm going to be single again, because I just live my life either way.
Yeah, I love that. Love that. Yeah, because like even for me, I'm married, but like sometimes I think of my single days and I'm like, those are the best days of my life. Like it's so funny because that's so against the whole cultural societal thing. And even though I'm happily married, I still remember, like Kix, you said it yourself, when you want to go on holiday, you can literally just be like, I'm packing my bag. You don't have to consider anyone. It's almost sounds selfish, but that selfishness is actually needed for yourself to just live your life. And you don't have to consider someone all the time. And sometimes it gets to be like a bit of pressure to just be like, okay, what does this person think? Okay, and also what do I think? Like, and I used to love just, just being you, just you. And no label.
I love how you ladies put it, because there's such a misconception about being single that all that women want is to be married and settled and find a partner. And it's like, nah, B, we also got other things going on. We also want to vet and verify that we want to spend our lives with this person. Like, we're not just sitting here like, oh, please, oh, pick me, please, And it's like, there's so much more to, and we're not often afforded that liberty and luxury of being like, we're just experiencing life and living life. So this is beautiful to hear. So thank you for sharing that.
They must add, not subtract.
Yes. Come through bars. Hey, guys, y'all been dropping them bars. Yeah.
Well, that was really insightful, Ford. I hope all the listeners can glean something, can laugh along, can relate. You guys opened up yourselves to us and we're very grateful. Rumbi, what any thoughts?
I think this was just so necessary, beautiful. I just love us as Black women, Black African women. As you said, Amanda, earlier, we are diverse and there's no one story, but just sharing it. And I love that we can relate, we can understand, we can, have a conversation like this. And truly, I believe that dating in your 30s is beautiful because you know yourself. You kind of let go of those, misconceptions about what you're supposed to be or what it's supposed to look like. You start living more for yourself. And it's beautiful to see it, ladies. So yeah, I think it's been such a treat chatting to you all. Amanda, what do you think?
No, I agree with you completely. Thank you all for your time. And anyone who wants to get in contact with us, we will put all the links in the audio description. Keep tuning in, keep listening. This has been It's Layered Expectations.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
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 Bye.